Good morning, AKCN News here. We love having you back with us. We're getting started this morning with a new anchor. Michael, welcome to the set. It seems like you got quite enough rain, if that's what you call it, a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I mean, it's great to be in here. It's a lot better than being outside with buckets of water. I mean, getting rained on outside, it's definitely a lot better in here.
Absolutely. Well, we're starting off the day with a continuing story on a guy named Jonah. I think this is the same guy that got swallowed by a huge fish a couple weeks ago. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So we have a little bit more on that. He's going to tell us about God's authority in his life. So we're going to go ahead and go to Isabel, and she's going to get more information.
Awesome. Well, Isabel, to you.
Thank you, Micah and Jordan. I'm here today with Jonah, and we're going to ask him a couple questions about his life experience the past couple months. Hi, Jonah. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. So the story we've been following is that you've been inside of a fish for the past couple weeks, and tell me about that experience.
Yeah. It was pretty moist in there. I made a lot of friends with some dead things. Some were alive. I learned some new language, like means goodbye, and yeah.
Thank you for that insight, but I meant, how did you end up in this fish? What led you to this experience?
Oh, sorry. Well, I rejected God's authority, and I didn't go to Nineveh because the people really do be scary there. So as I turned away from God, I ran, and I was swallowed by a giant fish.
So that sounds like a pretty interesting story. What would you do if you could do it over again?
Honestly, I would put my faith and trust into God and give him the authority he deserves over my life.
Wow. One last question for you. Have you bathed since you've been in that fish?
Oh, nah, man. It's the cleanest I've ever been.
Here is our King. 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 Here is our love. Here is our God who's come to bring us back to him. He is the one. He is Jesus. Here is our King, here is our love, here is our God who's come to bring us back to him. He is the one, he is Jesus. Here is our King, one who puts the moon in the sky. He's the one who hung the stars one by one. He's the one who makes the birds sing. He's the one who makes your dreams so high. He's the one who makes me smile. Day by day, Jesus, you're my superhero. You're my star, my best friend. Jesus, you're my superhero. You're my star, my best friend. Yeah, 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 yeah. Better than Spider-Man. Yeah, 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 yeah. Better than Superman. Yeah, 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 yeah. Better than Batman. Yeah, 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 yeah. Better than anyone. Jesus, you're my superhero. You're my star, my best friend. Jesus, you're my superhero. You're my star, my best friend. Jesus, you're my superhero. You're my star, my best friend. Jesus, you're my superhero. You're my star, my best friend. Yeah, 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 yeah. Better than Spider-Man. Yeah, 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 yeah. Better than Superman. Yeah, 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 yeah. Better than Batman. Yeah, 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 yeah. Better than anyone. Jesus, you're my superhero. You're my star, my best friend. Jesus, you're my superhero. You're my star, my best friend.
As I was growing up, my family spent pretty much every summer down at a lake house in eastern New Mexico. Well, my third grade summer, my brother and I were standing out in the front yard of this lake house, skipping rocks. Yes, you heard me right. We were skipping rocks on dirt. Not a good idea. Anyways, this little thing that we were doing turned into a competition and lasted for about 5 minutes before it came to a screeching halt. And we were throwing rocks as hard as we could. Now, I threw the last rock I would ever throw in my life, and the thing skipped off of the dirt and flew right through the back window of my mom's car, and it shattered. Now, I just gotta let you know, I've never been so fearful of what would happen next in my entire life. And that fear was justified because it was a fear of my mom. My mom had something that I didn't have. She had authority to create the consequences for my actions that we talked about last week. Now, I know some of you, or most of you, have felt this exact same fear. And you'll probably feel that same fear again someday. But Jonah the prophet also felt this same fear. Let's look in Jonah 1:1-3, and it says, "The word of the Lord came to Jonah, son of Amittai. Get up, go to the great city of Nineveh, and preach against it, because the evil has come up before me." Jonah got up to flee to Tarshish from the Lord's presence. He went down to Joppa and found a ship going to Tarshish. He paid the fare and went down into it to go with them to Tarshish from the Lord's presence. Now, Jonah recognized his fear, but his fear was misplaced. It was misguided. He feared Nineveh because they had become such a great and powerful nation and had conquered so many people around the world and had built up their empire. And so he feared these people for good reason, some people might say. But he didn't fear the Lord as much as he should have. His fear, what we would call reverence, is a deep respect, okay? That fear was guided towards Nineveh instead of towards God, where it should have been. And this led him down the road that we all know, where he was thrown overboard at sea and swallowed up by a big fish. And he finally made his way to Nineveh after being tossed up on the beach. Anyways, our God is the creator of the universe. Our God has authority over all things in heaven and on earth. The Bible even tells us that God upholds his creation by the power of his word. We have nothing to fear other than God himself. So I want you to take some time this week, and I want you to recognize that God is your ultimate authority. And I want you to ask yourself this question and think about your heart for a moment. Am I placing Jesus on the throne of my life? We'll see you here next week.